Okay, so welcome all of you to circles and spirals and curves and a further exploration of movement that helps to align us inwardly and also with the greater world. And as I mentioned, we may do a little journaling at the end if we have time. I don't plan for this to go over an hour. It's just, as you know. And I'm going to share my screen right away. But if you could also see me, I'm going to show some things as we go through the slides as well. All right, so we are going to do what is a fairly simple series of movements, but when done with intention, they are both physically strengthening and metaphysically strengthening. And along with this, so it's using circular motions, but we're also going to be strengthening our core. We're going to look at a little anatomy, and we're also going to use the movements as a sort of a metaphor to journey out into outer space, really out into our world. And we want to, as we do the movement, we're going to set an intention before we start. And then we're going to use this movement meditation to gain insight, both either just generally or into some specific situation in our life. And I was drawn to this movement. I started studying in the 1970s and 1980s when I was getting my master's in dance education. I loved Laban Bartenieff work, and I loved kinesiology and ideokinesis and using imagery with movements. And that's where a lot of all the arm spirals come from. I just am so drawn to that type of movement. And there's a whole sequence on the floor that is part of this pattern, which we're not going to learn today because it would just take too much, but I'd like to teach that at a later date in another class. So we're going to have, today we're going to do a standing version of the floor work, and then they can be combined into a longer movement sequence that really makes one very aware of how one's body works. You know, because it's like as above, so below. So we're doing the standing sequence, and there's also some we could do on the floor. I just love this work so much. You know, as we do the circling and spiraling movements, we're going to connect to our spiraling galaxy. We're going to connect to the planets circling the sun, to the moon circling the earth. And then it helps us to connect to the seasons on the earth and our own cycles. You know, the moon circles the earth, and the moon circling the earth gives us the lovely new moon to new moon. So we go, there's like a short cycle of a beginning and a completion, bringing to completion and then winding down and starting again. And of course, the planets going around the sun all have archetypes that are part of us internally. You know, astrologically, every planet represents feelings and emotions and ways of being. And those planets are out there in space, but they're also in our psyche. So in the 1400s, there was a philosopher named Marsilio Ficino who he translated Plato from the Greek into Latin. And so he was really an expert on philosophy. He was also an astrologer. He was also a priest. And he didn't see a separation in any of those things. He felt they all blended together. And he used astrology a lot. And he thought of the planets and our psyche as being like all the planets are constantly circling in our being and contributing to the music of our souls. So I'm hoping that we could tap into that a little bit today. Also with our movement is the idea of a pilgrimage. So without leaving the comfort of your own home, you can do a pilgrimage right in one place. The pilgrimage is to a deeper place inside of yourself and also to gather resources from outside of ourselves. Originally, labyrinths were created so that people who could not make the pilgrimage to the Holy Land would be able to pretend that they were on a pilgrimage by doing a large labyrinth like at Chartres Cathedral. And then you take that whole journey around. And then when you get to the sacred center of your destination, you spend some time there. So when we do our movement, when we get to the child's pose, I like to think of that as we've made our pilgrimage. And now we're like at the sacred place, absorbing where we are. And then we can come back to our normal world gradually. There's also Mount Kailash in Tibet, which is a place that people go and circumambulate. They'll do prostrations around it, which could also be like the child's pose idea. You know, it's again connecting to a holy place. So right now the holy place is inside of us, and we are using this curving movement also to realize that we ourselves are a place that's sacred and can open up to devotion. All right, well, we want to revisit a little bit of physicality. And in our bodies, we think that our head has all this mobility, but the head itself is not exactly moving. It's moving on top of the atlas and the axis of the cervical spine. And I love this picture of Atlas here holding the world on his shoulders, sort of at the cervical spine, because a lot of times we feel like the weight of the world and all of our thoughts are like holding on top of our cervical spine. But I want to show just a minute. I'm going to stop this share and I'm going to start another share, I think. Start another share screen. And we're going to look at the skeletal system here. So this is the cervical spine. And we want to look at how there's the atlas, and then there's the axis, right? And the axis is a little promontory that sits up inside, right? The axis and the atlas. The atlas is where the cranium, the occiput, sits of our skull. So when we are moving our head around, we're really moving. It's really the atlas and the axis that are giving us, through the muscular and ligaments attachments, all that movement. So if you move your head around and circle your head, your head is going around, but really it's only the cervical spine and that support of those two top vertebrae that are giving you all that range of motion. So, and we're going to go back, and I'm going to share again, back to here. So can everybody see this one again? Yeah, you saw the other one too, yes. So and there's a big relationship between the head and the pelvis and the sacrum. And when we move today, we're going to connect the head and the pelvis a lot in our movement. Just turn him a little bit. So because the sacrum is fused. The pelvis moves because of the lumbar spine. It moves because of the spine. So when the spine moves, the head is moving and the sacrum and the pelvis move, but they move because of the actions of the spine. And when we round down today, or when throughout our movement today, we're going to connect the head and the pelvis. And we're going to do that a lot through strengthening our core muscles. So we're going to, right now, if you just bend your head, even sitting, to your pelvis and then straighten back up, you could feel how as the spine rounds, the head and the pelvis relate to each other. And you can do it side to side, lifting your hip, and the head to the pelvis, to the side, and arching back. When they're connected at the core, you have a much better sense of balance and coordination in your movements. At least I find I do. And we know through body work that there's a lot of connection when working on the pelvis, that you can feel it in the jaw, the head, or we work on the jaw or the face, it opens up in the pelvis. I don't know, have any of you ever felt that? Do you notice that when you do work? Yeah. So we want to really, through our movement today, keep in connection the head and the pelvis. When you could think about your navel like a tube of toothpaste that you squeeze. So like you're squeezing in around your navel as you bring your head and pelvis together. And then keep that strength there as you lift up. It'll give you the strength to move your head and your pelvis as you're doing the movement today. And at any time, if anybody has a question, just unmute yourself and ask. And that goes for when we're doing the movement also, because I might not always be able to watch you too closely, and just feel free to speak up and ask a question. So one little thing I wanted to show you, well, a couple things. One is the spiral movements we did in the previous half-hour class. We talked about how the scapula just float on the ribs, and that the only place the arms are connected to the axial skeleton are at the sternoclavicular joint. So there is a very long reach from the fingertips to the center of the torso at the sternoclavicular. There is no other place, no other bony connection. That's why there's so much range of motion in the shoulder girdle. And we're going to remember that when we're working, like we're going to feel our scapulas and that long reach of the arm. Another interesting thing to think about in our journey today is if we look at the earth chakra, the root chakra here, right, with its curve underneath the tailbone. And then we look at the cervical chakra, the ether chakra, right at the base of the skull and into the cervical spine. If we put the two of them together, we have this curve, and then we have this curve, right? And when you have the blue and the red together in balance, you combine those colors and you get indigo, which is in the third eye section here. So then you have, so when the sacrum and the cervical spine are in balance, then the head is supported so that the third eye can open up and have your perception and intuition can be stronger. Okay, I'm gonna go back and get that. So This, and Mika, you could tell me if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, Enzo, the mark of minimalist Japanese aesthetics. It can symbolize eternity or infinity or the universe and the void. Closed, it can represent perfection, and open, the circle has possibility of movement and further evolution. So we're going to think about Enzo and the possibility of movement and evolution when we do a roll down. So when we do a roll down, we're going to connect the head to the pelvis. It won't be vertebrae by vertebrae. We'll like contract around the navel. The head and pelvis will connect, bending the knees, and we'll imagine this. We're opening up our bodies to this possibility of evolution and circularity. I think everybody knows child's pose and yoga, but just in case, here's what the child's pose looks like, because when I'm on the floor, I'm not sure if you'll see me completely. So this will be the child's pose. And when we come out of child's pose, you could come back into a squat or walk your hands back to your feet and then we'll round up again with the head to the pelvis. I studied with many people over the years, but it's been probably 30 or 40 years since I've taken one of these classes officially. So I have gone off in another direction a little bit with this work. I'm not sure. I know other people have developed this kind of work, kinesiology and psychokinesis. So there's many ways that this type of work can be used. And as Dr. Stone said, man himself is not simple. He's the most complex mechanism of all creation, because everything that's in creation generally is also in man, a microcosm. And that's why man's possibilities are so unlimited. All right, so I'm going to do a quick little bit of review. We're going to set an intention and ask for insight. And there's a place in our movement where we take our arm around and we look out to the horizon. And so this woman's looking out to the horizon. It's like we're looking out, where am I going? When we do the moon circling the earth, it's going to be the arm circles around. So it's like our solar plexus is the earth and the moon is circling. When we do the planets, it's like, the fingers. We're going to all be planets circling. So what I'm going to do now is, we want to remember this. We want to remember the planets circling the sun, the moon circling the earth, setting our intention, and also the circularity of our bodies and our movements, and the head to the pelvis. I'm going to stop my share. And what I'm going to do is, within just like 2 or 3 minutes, show you quickly the whole sequence of movements. And when I teach it to you and we're all doing it together, we may spend a long time on each area so that you get the physicality of it and the metaphysical metaphor of it. If you do this on your own at any time, you could spend as little time or as much time as you want in any particular section or with all of it. I find that, sometimes I could do the whole thing in 10 minutes. With the floor work, even just 15 or 20, or spend a whole hour, because it feels good and I'm working on something and it's a way to work out thoughts and ideas as well as the body work. So what I want you to do is, so you know what's coming up, without a lot of explanation, I'm just going to show you the movement. Anybody have any questions so far, that anything they want to ask? Or, okay. All right. So I'm going to move back a ways, and it's just, and I may just say a few things as I'm going, just to give a few pointers of where we are. All right, so first we set an intention into the cup in our hands. And pelvis to head, slowly roll down. Engaging the core, getting that circularity in our minds. The moon circles the earth. We're strong in our center. The moon circles the earth. We're strong in our center. Planets circle the sun. You can inhale as you come up and exhale. Again, you can do it slowly. You could do it quickly. In this whole wide world, where am I going? Looking out to the horizon. Coming back. Again, strong in your core and stepping out. And coming back. Do it again. And then we want to reach out and embrace new information, spiral that in, and integrate that into our lives. And this movement, the shoulder girdle, is very flexible. You reach from the sternoclavicular joint. Scapulas open up. We do both spirals. There's the spirals in nature, in the trees, in the water, in the shells, in our natural environment. And then we move out into the spiraling universe that we're part of, because the stars are in us and we're in the stars. So we're getting the biggest picture. And then we roll down again, head to pelvis. Going down into child's pose. We'll rest there for a while. Coming up. Head to pelvis. Slowly unwinding. Up. We'll review our passage, our journey, our pilgrimage, and then come up again and know that we've received information that we can use in our lives. And it's coming now into our hands, which are no longer empty, but they have received. And then we take that in to our heart chakra and let that warmth from that circulate into our whole bodies. Our feet are grounded. We're centered in our strong and center. Okay, so that is movement sequence, and we're all going to do it together. And I don't know, any questions? How are you all feeling about that? Okay? All right. Okay, good.
Hey, Barbara, I just had a question. So is that sequence, that something that you learned through this Lebanian technique, and or that you kind of created by blending polarity with that Lebanian movement technique? But it's not,
Yeah, actually there's a lot of floor work. As far as I can remember, I think I've created this based on the floor work I learned, which I'm not teaching right now. And, but the floor work has similar movements, but the whole going into the spiraling universe and making it more of a metaphor of where you're going in your life is, I believe that's my own. It's hard to know anymore where anything comes from, but yeah. So that's the answer to that. All right, so we are going to begin. Again, because of glasses, and I want you to be able to see me. Please, if you have to get clarification on anything, I'll come back and forth and watch you as best I can. So we'll be a little bit in and out here. And can you all see me pretty well? Before we start, because we've been sitting for like a few 20 minutes or so, you might want to just do a little stretch of your own first. Just, stretch up, feel your feet on the floor, do that little bounce. It helps to really have your feet solidly on the ground, as you're moving, so that you're aware of your feet, aware of your core and your center. I'm going to put on a different pair of glasses and hope they help me see you better. Let's see. No, that's not good either. But it would be great to do this in person, because then we could also partner with each other and feel like the way our shoulders work and everything. So, all right. So the first thing is to set the intention. So we do a big circle up as if, we're circling, embracing everything, ourselves, the world, and we bring down into a cup in front of us, our hands. And think about some situation in your life, or maybe just some general guidance that you may want. And silently make that into an intention, and imagine that your hands will receive that. You will, through everything you're just about to do, enable yourself to get guidance. Okay. And after you've received that, after you've set that intention to receive guidance, you can drop your hands, tuck in your belly button, your navel to your spine, drop your head, and start pulling your pelvis towards your head. The idea is that you're trying to create a circle. It's not entirely physically possible, but it's that intention, that circularity. Bend your knees and roll down. And slowly roll up. And we're going to do this a few times. Again, as you do this work, you could spend as much time as you want anywhere, as slowly or quickly as you want to do it. So let's roll down again. Roll down, I'm going to watch you. Head to pelvis, bending your knees, slowly rolling down. Remember that Enzo shape, that idea of a paintbrush creating evolutionary movement. And slowly roll up when you're ready. And if you're up, you could go down again and come back up. And the next time you're up standing, remain standing. Okay. And now we're going to move into a scooping motion. So the fingertips lead, scooping up the side, and watch your hand as it all the way around. So this is the physical movement. You're watching your hand as it just curves around in a big circle. And your head, let your head also move with your hand then. And as your head drops down, you contract a little bit, strengthening your core and allowing your head and pelvis to contract towards each other a little bit. And then you come overhead. You could bend your knees. It's nice to inhale on the up and exhale as you come down on the contraction. Okay, that's good. And let's try the other side. We'll scoop up. Head, eyes and head go with the hand. There's a little contraction as you come down. Inhale up. And exhale as you contract and let your body come down. And there are many ways to do this. Okay. Allow your arm to really lead your body. So your hand and your arm movement is what's guiding your body. And it can be soft. One of the nice things about this movement is to let your arms be soft while your center is very strong. Okay, so now let's do it with, how's everybody feeling with that? Do you feel comfortable with that movement? Are you feeling good? Okay, all right, good. So now we're going to, if you could do it with your eyes closed, it's great, or half closed. If you feel dizzy at any time, of course, just slow down or take a break, because we want to visualize the moon going around the earth. So we're going to close our eyes, and as the hand goes around, imagine the moon going around the earth. So it's the same movement, the same strength in your core, but now you're following that moon, going from new moon to full moon to new moon, creating a cycle of becoming and completion. And when you're ready, you can change to the other side and do the same. Again, as slowly or as quickly as you want, but allow your arms to be soft and your center to be strong. And your head to move with your hand. I love Christy with your background. You really are like out there in outer space. All right, and yeah, and use whatever positioning you want for your feet. They could be shoulder width or broader or closer, whatever feels comfortable for you. It's more about the torso and the upper body right now. Okay, now we're going to do both hands come around, very soft, but just keep your center strong. And now we're doing all the planets, right? Again, it's head to pelvis. It's the same movement, it's just both arms are sort of getting swung about. Inhale up, exhale down. And if you could close your eyes and picture the planets going around the sun and know that all those planets represent parts of your psyche. When you feel comfortable, you could change sides. Remember, allow your head to drop down with your hands so that you're always like working that torso a little bit too. It's lovely. It's like really lovely. Okay, so we're going to now move on to looking to the horizon. So one hand, sort of like the moon, you reach up, watch your hand in this whole wide world, same arm and hand, step out and look out over your fingertips to the horizon, if there was a horizon there that you could look at. And I think Doreen probably has a horizon. And where am I going? What's my direction? And then you come back and then do the other side up. And again, look out over your fingertips. And where am I going? What's my direction? And come back. Or as when Julie did it with me the other day, and she was like, also, what can I let go of? And I kind of like that too. So you can also find your own metaphor. But for now, yes, we could think about direction. And we could go back and forth a couple times. So it's the arm overhead and then reaching out to the front corner. Arm overhead, again, moving out, same leg. And as your hand reaching out, looking out, coming back. So we've just asked again for some information or direction, and we're going to do the spiral where you reach back to the back corner. And then it's a long reach, like from the sternoclavicular to your fingertips, and the fingertips lead and come around in a spiral, like you're hugging something big and soft. And then you reach, and then the shoulder blade, the scapula, unwinds you. So the fingertips lead in and the scapula pulls you out. Fingertips lead you in and the scapula unwinds you. And in this, we're spiraling out to look for more information and gathering that information in. Gathering in that help or information and synthesizing it in our bodies and bringing it in. And we do the other direction again. You reach out, it's a long reach, and you come in. And a long reach out and bring that information in. And long reach out to the back and spiral in across your body. And then, let's do this one a minute, that sort of simple spiral, just swinging your arms back and forth. And then take that into the double arm spiral so that your arms are up and you just let your body move, your head and body move with the way the arms are leading you. Right, but it's the shoulder blades. I really feel my shoulder blades on this, my scapulas. You know, as I circle to the back, my scapula is unwinding the arm. Okay. Okay, and now we're going to go down into child's pose. If you're on a hard surface and you want to just bend down and put your hands on the ground, and we're going to just stay there for like a minute. So we'll gradually, again, head to pelvis, tucking in against your navel, contracts in and roll down slowly, keeping that circular shape. Either just touch the ground, ground yourself, give thanks, you've made it, you've made your journey, you're at your sacred center. And if you're in child's pose and your forehead is on the ground, that's like your third eye, you know, it's sort of like the center of your pineal gland, your pituitary. You know, you've entered into a sacred center of yourself. And then to come up, you can come into a squat or just walk your hands back to your feet. And again, head to pelvis. Slowly, slowly come up. And then we'll do another large circle around, up, right, up. Maybe take a deep breath. Again, the cup of hand in our hands. And look into your hands and know that you've received wisdom. And take that to your heart chakra. And feel all of that you've just accomplished, the journey you've been on. Your physical body is strengthened and you've received guidance. Feel your feet on the floor and just be still with that feeling for a moment. So how are we doing on time? So when you're ready, you can come back. If you would like to write a couple notes about anything that came to you that you'd like to remember during that experience.
Can I share something?
Sure. Or yes.
I can wait till later.
Maybe just wait a minute while if people are writing or thinking.
Yeah, no worries.
A second. Okay, so, yeah, Christy, what would you like to share?
I was so struck by, how, I don't know, like healing that movement was. And that because we're doing it slow and intentionally the way we were, I have a lot of tension in my body and it was really leaving it. And it was amazing. And I had quite a few self adjustments in the spine as that was going. And I was like,
Oh.
where did that come from? It was crazy. So I just wanted to share that because I was just like, oh my God, I need to be doing this every day.
Oh, thank you. Thank you,
I'm
Christy. That's great.
thrilled we're doing this. Thrilled we're doing this.
Great. Thank you. I'm glad. Very glad. So if anybody, I welcome all of you to share some bit of that if you'd like. Okay, Jareen, yeah.
So interesting because it's fairly recent that I had abdominal surgery.
Oh.
So it was very interesting to me. It was, the whole thing just struck me as taking in, moving through. And at the same time, when I would take in, it felt like I was building that internal strength.
Mm-hmm.
And the movement called me to move really slowly. It was like I wanted to feel everything.
Uh-huh.
It was very cool.
Okay.
And it struck me also the breath work. It just reminded me a lot of Qigong.
Mm-hmm.
I related strongly to it.
And one thing, when I do this for myself, I will often insert other movement things here and there as I'm doing it, and I'll think, oh, right now, I love the one you do, this. I feel like doing this too. I think I'll throw that in there for a while. You could throw in other things as you're working that feel right in the moment. So.
But I love the whole circular energy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like life.
Thank you. Janet?
Thank you. Your voice is so soothing and calming. I love it. I really love, and I loved it the last time you did it, and I wanted to keep doing it and did, and I'd like to keep doing it every day because there's several things. One, feeling the fluidity of the scapula, the floating, and then bringing your attention out to the end of your arms and then sort of focusing on this point, realizing, oh my God, that's the only place that's connected. It changes the way I think and feel in my body a lot, and it sort of lightens it and it makes it feel more centered and softer, much softer actually. A lot of places that I feel pain start to just dissipate because I always have a lot of pain in my shoulder blades, and it just sort of goes away. I love your whole thing.
Oh, thank you, Janet. That's great. That's good. Very good feedback. Hey, Jackie.
Hi, Barbara. I loved the speed that you went at. It was very, very meditative. And like the other said, it was like the voice and the way you accompanied with your voice was really helpful to just be in the flow of the movement. And I loved how you came back at the end to how you closed the exercise with the intentionality and the cup and it was interesting to feel like, oh yeah, we thought about a thing before, and then we went out into this beautiful space, and then we wandered back, and then there was still a thing, and it did feel a little bit lighter. So I wanted to thank you for that specifically. I mean, to me, you feel perfectly placed in your world. My God. Yeah, lucky people to get to have you teach them.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that everybody is getting something out of the movement. So that means a lot. Thank you. I'm glad for everyone. Hey, Julie.
Yeah, I wanted to share. Can you hear me? I wanted to share my experience this time was that like I felt like I was cleansing my field, you know, sort of like cleaning a window, and that like I loved like extending out into the cosmos because it felt like, you know, like the way like anchored in the heart chakra, but also, you know, the solar plexus too. But it's like I felt like it was clearing like karmic patterns,
Mhm.
you know, like from my heart chakra and eliminate like unhealthy patterns today and choices of mine. Like it felt really just like cleansing, and just I loved going out into the cosmos and doing that.
Uh-huh.
Really felt that.
I love that.
And at the end in child's pose, when you connected you know, the pineal gland to like your inner sanctum,
Mhm.
is really powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Mika. Mika. Oh, you have to unmute, Mika. Oops. I don't know if I could do it for you. Uh,
Hello, Barbara.
hi.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to tell you, I just want to thank you for this session. It was only 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes, the movement, but I feel very, how you said, calming. I found it very calming, and also it's very invigorating.
Uh-huh.
And also, I found that the room has not only me, but the whole room space feels like has a good vibe already.
Ah. Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, interesting. It's clearing the space and externally, internally. Yeah.
that's how I'm feeling right now. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you came. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Glenn.
Hi, Barbara. Can I come in?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just also found that was really, really inspiring and really loved it. And I thought it was something so nice to do as a regular daily practice because, like you said, it very simple, but like very comprehensive and you know, I guess my own favorite part was like the working with the metaphor of like imagining all the planets surrounding
Uh-huh.
you as the center of the universe, and you
Uh-huh.
know, and it kind of reminded me how, you know, just like there are 1,000 ways to do the same yoga pose, right? But it's all about what the different levels of like consciousness and that you can bring to it. And so to me, it was like a reminder of just also what's so beautiful about this kind of polarity yoga, in that you're doing a lot of these traditional yoga poses like the ragdoll and doll pose and these other things, but it's the different way of consciousness and intention that you're bringing to it that just takes it to like a completely different level. And the other thing that came to me like just was this pattern of cycles, you know, it's like similar to the astrological cycles, the life cycle, you know, the circularity, and that I forget the name of it, is the Japanese sort of symbol, you know, that you were
the Enzo.
that we were trying to take on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it was just like very just like what the current situation I'm going through, but I think like kind of healing, you know, by that constant reminder of like we're constantly always going through these cycles of, you know, we're re-going through everything, and we're just constantly in the state of transformation all the time. And that's like such a polarity concept, but it was very helpful to just like reconnect to that reality through this practice. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you're here, Glenn. Oh, thank you. from halfway around the world. So, oh my God, you know, I think we started at like around 2:35 maybe. So we might have a couple more minutes. I don't want to keep people longer than an hour. And I know everybody probably, you know, but I know Sunil and Jacqueline, I haven't heard from you, but I don't know if you need to share, or I don't want to cut anybody off. So anyway. No. So I'm Jacqueline, were you going to say something? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to just reiterate, I agree with so many things others said, especially what Mika said about the space feels different. I wasn't expecting both my internal space, my physical body, and also just my external space in my living space feels different somehow because of what I did in this area. And that was a new thing this time for me that feels really profound. So just love the layers and the dimensions, just like that image with the planets and all the orbits, like it's having effects on so many different layers. And that really landed for me this time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes,
Jacqueline.
beautiful.
Yeah, I'll keep mine short. I'm gonna echo a lot of what Mika and Jacqueline said about like that the space and the internal space both having like a similar feeling. For me, that feeling's like a little lighter, a little purer even. It reminds me of like when I squeeze some lime or lemon in water and taking a sip of that. Like that's how it feels a little right now. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all so much. And I'm hoping that this work that we did today, if you try it again, you know, of course there'll be the recording. And I do want to at some point teach the floor work and then combine the two. It's really fun for me. And, but it's hard to teach the floor work a little bit online, but we'll see. But I'm hoping also that you all really gain some guidance for some area in your life or situation, or just in general to open you up to more resourcing through this work, that you made a pilgrimage, you found something useful in your life that maybe it's not immediately apparent, but will show up in a dream or in a phone call or in some way for you, that you have added resource on many levels in your life now from this work. I did put my email in the chat, but I think you all have my email. So if anybody wants to follow up with me about anything, please feel free to do that. And I so appreciate all of you so much. For me, this journey has been about how much I appreciate all of you. So thank you. And I guess I'll stop the recording, and that will end this class for now. I'm